Now, the opposite is true. If we look for bad, we find it. Whatever you look for, you find. And so when you're in the middle of this, you can begin to just find something to be thankful for. Thankful for the years you have been married, thankful that you're healthy and your spouse is healthy, or that you have kids, or begin to look for any little thing that you could possibly be thankful for.
Today we get to speak with Evie Shaw. Over the past 8 years, she has marinated, soaked, and absorbed the transformational and healing powers of gratitude, not to mention the 20 years before that where she was on a continual quest to change and become the best version of herself. In addition to a psychology degree and master's in counseling, she has attended numerous workshops and conferences to further her education in the self-improvement arena. Evie has also been coached and mentored by Bob Proctor and other leading mindset coaches. Now, she has the passion and desire to help others step out of familiar, repeated, and habitual negative routines. It's far too common for humans to let unhealthy, inaccurate thoughts keep us anchored and bound to unhealthy life patterns. So let's listen into this conversation as we take the journey to gratitude with Evie Shaw. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. Evie, thanks so much for taking the time and coming on to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Awesome. So the podcast Hacks and Hobbies, we focus on origin stories, journeys that our guests and speakers and authors and from all different walks of life take to get to where they are today and where they're going. So to begin, tell us a little bit about your journey that no one's heard of before.
Well, so in the past few weeks, I was blessed to be a part of a chapter in a book called Awakened. And so some friends of mine, Alan and Cindy, they put together this book, and so every chapter is from a different author. So I have a chapter in their book, and I tell my story in the book about when my husband left and the journey that it took me on individually that changed me radically. Mm-hmm. So you want me to go into more detail?
Yes, please. Yeah, tell us what all inspired you. Like, how did that happen? Because I'm sure you've got a bigger story than that.
Oh, it's a big story. Yes. Okay. So when my husband left, we had been married 22 years at this point, and we had 3 sons, and we didn't have our first son until 8 years after we were married. Mm-hmm. But when we had 1, then we had 2, then we had 3. And so I had a 2, a 1, and a new. I had 3 babies, and it was wonderful. And they are great babies, great kids. And so anyway, he left one morning. We woke up just like any other day, and he was a coach and a horse trainer. And so this particular day, I took my children to the movie, and we came home, and I got home, and there was a note in the bathroom, and I'm like, oh, he left me a love note, how sweet. And but I picked it up, and it wasn't a love note at all. And so as I began reading it, I was in shock. So I had made plans to go walking with a friend of mine, so I grabbed the letter, changed clothes, ran out the door, and when I got to her, we read the letter together. And he was basically saying he needed some time to think, but that he was leaving. And anyway, so backing up a little bit, when I was like 8 years old, I laid in my bed, and I was thinking, how do you get a daddy to stay? Like, one mom, one dad, forever, kids, happy, happy, happy.
Yeah.
And so I just had this desire in my heart as a young girl to have one marriage, one husband, great kids, fun, laughter, happily ever after. And so that stayed in my heart all the years that I'm married. I read every book. I studied it. I'm thinking, I'm going to conquer this. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it great. And so here I come home to this day, and he has left a note that he's leaving. And so I'll speed the story up just a little bit, but we homeschooled. And so I was home with my children all the time. And he came home for lunch every day. He had, ever since our children could sit at the table, we would sit and eat together. And we played games, and we did trivia, and we laughed, and we just had the best time. It was like our 1 hour course, lunch course. And so anyway, when he left, he did keep coming home, which I was very thankful for, because I wanted my boys to have their dad. And I wanted our family to be back together, of course. And so I just took the opportunity to be really kind to him when he came home. And some things started happening as I found a book on my shelf. And I opened it up, and it said that this woman had a husband who's an alcoholic, and he went to jail. She was a mom, and they divorced, and he went on. Well, she got a hold of a thankful message. And so she began to be thankful, not for the alcoholism, but for what it could bring, the good that could come from it. And so anyway, when I read that, and he has been gone for several months, I'm thinking, yikes, what's happening here? Is this, what is this saying to me? Like, do I have to be thankful for his infidelity? Do I have to be thankful that he's not here? And the answer was yes. 5 days later, I met a woman for the first time, and I've never seen her again. And she brought another book, different author, and she showed it. So our family's lives have been changed from this. And so I thought, I have to have the book. I love books. And so anyway, she gave me the book. I went home, and it was the same message, be thankful for everything. And I'm like, oh, you can't be serious, And so thus began my journey of being thankful for everything, and especially the things that I really, really didn't like. And as I began to do that, I began to change. And the name of my chapter is The Magic of Gratitude, and it really was magical what happened inside of me. So that's it in a nutshell.
That's so beautiful. I praise gratitude all the time because, we are so lucky to be living, above ground and having all of these luxuries. It's just amazing the miracle of life that we have, right? So thank you for sharing. That was really powerful. That was very touching because yes, we could be mad. Yes, we could be angry. Yes, we could be crying and blaming. But time moves on, right? We have the future to change, to grasp. The present is a gift to us. So being grateful is super, super important. And that was such a touching story. Thank you.
I do want to say that I did cry. I cried and I cried and I cried. I don't want it to come across that it was easy, and I don't want it to come across that what he was doing was right. What I'm bringing out here is how being thankful in an adverse situation can literally and radically change your life and transform who you are. So
absolutely, yes. The pain is felt. You do feel the pain because 22 years is a long time. That's 2 decades.
Right.
Over, right.
And the little girl that laid in that bed wanting the daddy to stay was still there. Like she came out, like, how do you get the daddy to stay? How do you make this work? And so, so that, it was huge. It was amazing. But I always think as I walked that journey, and I have 3 sons, had the 3 sons, And I remember thinking, I want to walk in a way worthy that when I get on the other side, I can tell my children, this is how I handled it. You know, and so I would think about my choices and decisions and not to lash out, even when that seemed like the natural thing to do. So I tried to walk in a way that when I looked back, I didn't have regrets.
No, that's really, really important to not have regrets and to be grateful, and be able to reflect on our surroundings, on our circumstances, right? It's human to feel the pain. It's human to, miss that connection. And, when you mentioned that, yes, he still comes back every day for the lunch, that's huge for the kids, right? Because they still think that daddy's gone to work, right? And he's still in their lives, because it's very important to have a father figure in your life, because it builds some kind of character, it builds confidence. There's a ton of things that that level of connection brings, having both parents especially, right?
Right. So I have a psychology degree and then a teaching degree and a master's degree in counseling. So I had studied enough in school, in an institution by itself, but also so much studying on my own, because how do you get a daddy to stay? The colleges don't tell you that, but that was my passion, right? And that was my desire. And so I knew how important it was for my sons, especially my sons, but of course every child, to have their dad there.
Yeah.
So the fact that he came back home, I was so thankful. And I remember thinking, I want to make sure that he wants to walk back in the door every day.
Yeah.
Because I wanted those boys to have their dad. No matter what was going on with me or what was going on with him, those boys needed their dad there in the same way we had always had him.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. And some of my friends, most of my friends, I don't even know if I had a friend that was agreeing with me, but my friends would say, what are you doing? Why are you cooking for him? I wouldn't cook for him. And thinking I have the privilege to cook for him. I have the privilege that he walks back in my house, because so many times, if you know divorced people, that's just not the norm. And so anyway, that's what was happening. I wanted to make sure he wanted to come back home and be with his boys, and that we all could stay together as a family, because we really had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We really had a lot of fun. And so.
No, that's really cool. So that happened how far ago was this?
So he left in 2012, and I went through my thankful journey. It took about 1 year for me to go full spectrum, because when I first started my thankful journey, because the books I was reading, there was about 10 of them, and they all said the same thing. Be thankful. Be thankful for this. The things you don't like. So say your car breaks down. Well, you're not thankful for that, but be thankful for that you're safe, be thankful that you have a car or whatever, find something to be thankful for. And so I wasn't thankful that he was gone. I was heartbroken. I mean, I literally laid in my floor for about 18 months. So I came out and raised my boys, but when I'd go back there, I was just wanting him to come back home so much. But so anyway, so I began my thankful going, I'm so thankful that he's not here. Like literally, I wasn't thankful. I wasn't even really saying it nicely.
Yeah.
But I had read enough to know that I think this will work. And so anyway, so I began to be thankful. And as the days progressed and as the time progressed, like literally, I could just feel it changing me. And I don't know if you've seen the science experiment with the water and the dirt. You put the dirt in there, and then you're trying to get the dirt out. So you keep pouring water, and the dirt finally makes its way out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I saw myself. I mean, not then, because I couldn't see anything, right? And so, but as I look back, I'm like, that's what was happening. The more thankful that went in and came out, the junk came, the anger went away. And so it was 1 year after that I began my thankful journey. I went back in my cave, and there was a book on the floor. And it was one of those things like, oh, goodness, where'd this come from? I know I'm supposed to pick it up. So I picked it up and opened it up. And it's just hard to believe. It's hard for me to believe just saying it and thinking about it. But I opened the book again just to wherever it fell open. And it was about a woman. And her husband was an alcoholic. And he went to jail. And they got a divorce. And he moved away. And it said she got a hold of the thankful message. And she began to give thanks. And then he came back, and they lived happily ever after. Now, that's my Cliff Notes, right? That's my little version. But here's what this second book said. Now, It's not the first book. It's not the second book. It's a whole different book.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the same couple as the first book. And it said that as she began to give thanks and to be thankful that her husband left and went to jail and that they divorced, she began to see herself. And the role she played in it. Because at first it was like, look what he's doing. He left. He's an alcoholic. He's gone to jail. Blah, blah. Ooh, I mean, and that's our natural tendency.
Yeah.
And we would look at it and go, yeah, well, that is wrong. Like, my husband left. That is wrong. You know, or that guy had alcoholism. That is, you know, that's not the best case scenario. But the thing was, it wasn't about anybody else at that moment. It was about what was happening in me. And so it just literally changed who I was. And it did make me a more thankful person. And the peace and the calm and the joy that came with it is priceless.
Yeah.
So.
You know, I did not know about the story where if there's dirt in the glass, you put water and you keep putting water. I didn't know about that at all. I mean, this is the first time I've heard it. But it makes sense. The more you put in, in your brain and your body, more good is going to come out. If you put junk in, you're going to get junk out.
Right.
We talk as software developers. We say more, you put junk in, you're going to get junk data out. You're going to get bugs. So make sure you write clean code, you do clean designs, and you're going to get good output. So. Right.
Wow. And so, it was a science experiment I had done with my children, right? So we did. But it's so fitting. And yes, the example you just gave, the more good that's put in, the more good that put in, the bad kind of washes out. And that's exactly what happened to me. And I became a better mother, became a better person. I became a better wife, but my husband wasn't home. And everything just was better. Even though he didn't come home at that moment, the peace and the joy, it didn't even matter anymore at that point.
Wow, that's, you know, there's some questions I have. So let's say somebody is going through something similar. How do they start the journey of being thankful? How do they start the journey of seeing what's good versus just focusing on what's bad and why it's happening to them? Because that's the path we go to. Like, why is it happening to me?
Right.
Why not somebody else? Like, why, right? So
exactly.
How do you start that journey?
So I would suggest and recommend that so any situation that we encounter that we don't like is to begin look for one shred of good in it. Like, even if your car breaks down, you can think it didn't wreck, you know, or you can begin to say, so just specifically if they're in a divorce or if they're having marital trouble, you know, just begin to say, thank you for this issue and the good that it's bringing about. Can't see it right now. Don't know what it is, but just trust that this issue, this thing, is bringing about a greater good. Now, that goes along with, if we look for good, we find good.
Yes.
Now, the opposite is true. If we look for bad, we find it. Whatever you look for, you find. And so when you're in the middle of this, you can begin to just find something to be thankful for. Thankful for the years you have been married, you know, thankful that you're healthy and your spouse is healthy, or that you have kids, or begin to look for any little thing that you could possibly be thankful for. And for me, specifically, my husband wasn't coming home on the weekend. So this was crushing to me, because here we are, my whole little family. I got to have this perfect happily ever after. So what do families do on the weekends? Well, they hang out together, right?
Yeah.
Well, not us. And so I was just, just so hurt by that. And so I would say I'm so thankful and grateful that my husband's not here, because if he was supposed to be, he would be. And that was my start. Mm-hmm. And I'm so thankful and grateful that my husband's not texting us this weekend and checking on the boys. That was hurtful too. And I said, because if he was supposed to text me, he would. Now I'm of the belief too, there are no accidents. Mm-hmm. And so everything is happening as it should. The problem with that is it doesn't look like it's happening as it should. It doesn't even look like it's good. And I promise you, I couldn't see good. I couldn't see the light at the end of a tunnel. Mm. And that's why my message is so important for me to share. Because when I laid in my floor for 18 months, I was like, is there one person on this planet, just one, who can come to me and say, it'll be okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know how it'll be. I don't know what it'll look like, but it will be okay. There is life after your time on the floor, after this pain, if you look for it.
That's such a awesome question to ask of yourself. Can somebody come and tell me that this is going to be okay? It's so powerful, because we need that external confirmation. We need that external view, or somebody that's gone through something similar, to tell us, hey, what you're going through is okay. It's part of human nature. I want to show you something. This is called a reminder coin. And I've got a bunch of these reminder coins, and check it out. That says, this too shall pass. Nothing lasts forever.
Wow, that's powerful.
Right?
Right.
And then on the flip side, it says, accept what is, let go of what was, have faith in what will be.
Wow, I have chills.
Right? And
that's
you
amazing.
Never know, like, these are awesome quotes, but unless you've walked the path,
right,
and hoped that this would be over, mm-hmm. It's like, holy smokes, there is so much wisdom in the words and that people have gone through in experiences. We just have to trust and have faith. Right.
Yeah, because you don't know the outcome. Of course, if you knew the outcome, you'd be like, all right, it's all going to work out. I'll kick back and watch some TV or something. And I had no idea. I didn't think it could work out right unless he came home. My thought was there's no other option. Like, there's option A, and then that's it. Like, he can either come home or not. That's it. And so that's just not the truth. That's the only option I wanted. It's not the truth of how life can be good and life can go on. And but when we're in the pit, when we're in the bottom, when we're devastated, when we're heartbroken, when our spouse has chosen someone else and not us, because that's not how it's supposed to happen. When that happens, you can't see past
that.
And so that's why I want to encourage people. I'd love to talk with people. And walk with them through it if need be. But encourage them. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and there's good on the other side if you look for the good. Now, I've seen people.
One quick thing I want to ask you to do. So, your audio is going in and out.
Do I need another background, like
resume
for future?
No, you're fine. We could talk more about that. I actually have a group focused on home studio productions or home studio perfection, so I can add you to that group, and then we can talk more.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. Welcome back on. After these messages, I don't even know how to say it. So we're talking about a lot of amazing things, and I'm trying to remember where we left off, but gratitude and compassion, and yes, we stopped at the coin, which said, "This too shall pass," and that nothing lasts forever, which is very true. But the amazing thing that you mentioned was how we're all supposed to. Where was that? I can't remember. I'll have to rewind and listen to what I said, but
we all need to look for the good. I don't know.
We do. I think that's the main the main idea is that we got to look for the good, right? And it may feel like that there's only two options, right? That's what you said. It's either he can stay, but he's got to come back. I mean, that's the only view that you see, and until you realize that as what's how to be grateful,
right? And
to look in a different perspective as human beings, as people that are continually growing, we physically change our entire body is physically different from 7 weeks ago because all the new cells that are being produced. So it's amazing how our mind loves to stay in one stagnant position and thinking nothing else is changing. But what's funny is that we are growing as human beings. We are.
Well, the thing, too, is about us as human beings is when we wake up in the morning, we naturally, we let our minds just go. We don't think about what we're thinking about, or a lot of times we don't. And it does, for whatever reason. Okay. The logo. That's where I was going with that whole story. So all right. I do remember where we were when you left.
Awesome. Perfect. So let's get back on.
Okay.
Let's get back on the show.
Okay. So when we wake up in the morning, our minds, they naturally kind of go to the negative. And I don't know why that is, but it's just our natural tendency. So
I think it's the lizard brain trying to keep us on toes, don't get killed. Don't get murdered.
True. But when we can think about what we're thinking about, and when we're going through something that's not so great, if we can then turn our thoughts around to see the positive side of it.
Yeah.
But it's work. It is work.
It is work. It's absolutely work. I mean, that's such a great thing to say, because you can't keep weight off if you don't put in the work. You can't get stronger if you don't put in the work. You can't be a good athlete or a cyclist if you don't put in the work.
Right.
What's funny thing is, doctors recommend you work out 3 days a week for 30 minutes. That's just to maintain.
Right.
Because the default is downhill, because that's the easiest. So
right. And the same for this. Yeah, that's exactly the same. And it is so easy to not exercise. It's so easy to let our minds wander and to look at what's going on. Yeah. I mean, I could look around and go, my husband's not here, wonder where he is. Okay, well, I didn't want to know, right? I mean, it would have been harder to know and have to forget. So that was some of the things that I was like, I don't want to go exploring what he's doing or try to see this or know that, because I would have to forget something else. I'd have to forgive something else. I would have to get over something else. And so was so blessed to be able to raise my boys and just stay in my home, raise my children as I had always done, and just be laser focused on my children and on wanting my marriage back. And what can I do to get that? What will draw my husband to me? Because clearly I had pushed him away in some way or another. Not that what he did was right. I'm not saying that. But like when I began to look at myself, I was like, oh no, like he wouldn't want to come back. No kidding. Because I was griping or, fussing. And another thing too, Wayne Dyer says when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Well, that's so true. So when when he was still living here and he would say he's going to be home 6:00 for supper and he'd get home 6:20. I'm like, why did you get home at 6:20? Where have you been? And then when he left, it didn't matter when he came home. He'd come home 7, 8, 9. It's like, oh, he's here. Right. And so it just changed the whole way I saw it.
Wow.
And what it made me realize is I didn't have to gripe back then. Why did I? Because that's our natural tendency. But maybe not everybody's but mine. So
wow,
I had to retrain.
That's really it makes me realize, it makes me think about a lot of things too. In my life and in people that I know their lives and that the changes that they're going through, and there's a lot of people that are going through the separation, the divorce, I think what happens is our perspectives change. When they say the grass is greener on the other side, do you know why it's green on the other side?
Because we can't see.
That's true.
See over there.
We can't see over there. We're standing here, and when we look out there, we just see all green. But if you step into that grass and look at ours, ours is greener too. Like it's because we're changing the perspective. And I thought of it because I was like, why do people think about it? And we spent a lot of time on on our lawn last year. We got redone. And every time I walk over and I see like some patches, there's like dead leaves like hanging out, and then it like kills the grass. So it's like all these patches, and I'm like walking around and noticing all these things because it's my grass. But anytime my neighbor looks over, he's like, dude, you've got some awesome grass. What are you doing over there? Like, I don't know what you're saying, man. I don't see that.
Right. Yeah, that's huge right there because that's how we live our lives. Our kids even, or how our kids are acting or how our spouse is acting. And if we just took a little bit of a different look, we would see things differently. Yeah.
Got to change that perspective.
Right.
Like earlier what just happened, right? My wife's in the middle of a call. And she tells my son, do not go outside. Wait till we're done with our work, and then you can go outside. And he didn't. He's like, oh, Mama just said wait, and then he's just standing there, and she's like, go. I'm on this meeting call. So he goes. He thinks, oh, I'm okay to go. I don't need to wait anymore.
Right.
He opens the garage and just runs out. And it's they need that outlet too. They need, because everybody's been cooped up at home,
right.
And it's a miracle and luxury that we get to go outside and play with his friends and whatnot.
Yeah, that's funny.
But so he's in trouble.
Oh no.
So I have 3 kids, right? I have a 10-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So the 2-year-old is, she's like, I don't have school, I don't have anything, somebody watching me or somebody play with me. So it's been tough, but we see a lot of good in it because we get to spend time, because they grow up so fast.
They do.
So fast.
They do. They surely do.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing. It is a blessing for y'all to be able to have the time and look for different ways to spend time together that you wouldn't have even explored.
Yeah.
Because they were in school or whatnot.
One thing my wife said was, we're stuck home. We're not going any place, because last year, every weekend, we'd be going to somebody's house, we're doing this. I'm like, we have all these projects at home. How are we going to clean up? Now we got all the time to, we changed all of our room settings.
Oh, wow. That's good. That's good.
So, yeah, we're just going to rearrange everything, just change everything up. So it's been pretty some awesome times.
Awesome. Yes.
All right, Evie. Well, it was really awesome talking to you. I'll have some really fun questions here.
Okay.
Towards the end of the episode. So just to recap, we got to talk about your journey, being grateful from an adversity, from, living a life where you were comfortable to being not comfortable, and then finding grace and finding gratefulness and finding the positive and just adding all those positives and getting the negative out. I think that's really powerful message. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for letting me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope it helps someone. I hope someone hears it and that they can contact me. I would love to walk with someone through it, or out of it, I should say.
Yeah.
I have walked 3 friends out of really dark situations. So,
yeah. No, absolutely. I might know a few people. All right. What is one hobby that you wish you got into?
Playing the piano.
Ooh. So do you have a piano too?
Well, I did. So I just think it's so amazing, people who have a musical brain and they can play and they make beautiful music and they can entertain anywhere they are, right?
Yeah.
And so my oldest son, he's amazing. He's like a genius. He taught himself how to play.
Wow.
He taught him all kind of instruments. And so he would sit around always and play the piano. I have his guitar right here, one of his guitars. He has the drums. He has everything. So anyway, so yes, I've had different pianos come through here. I haven't actually ever sat down and tried to learn, but I just think it's so amazing, people who have that gift.
Yeah, it's absolutely something very different, because we get to engage what's my right side of the brain, right? In playing instruments and being creative.
Right.
But what's funny is that we're all very creative in different ways. Like the ways that you are creative might not be something that other people are creative in that way. So, yeah, it's awesome. What did you want to be when you were a child?
That's a great question. Let's see. I think I wanted to be a teacher, actually, because my grandparents had the little chalkboard. People probably don't even know what a chalkboard is anymore. Have a little chalkboard, and so I'd go outside and I'd be like, okay, y'all need to be teaching somebody something. And so I think I wanted to be a teacher until I got to college, and I'm like, oh no, I'll never be a teacher. That's one thing I'll never do, right? And then, guess what? I taught for 7 years in public school.
Yeah.
I loved it. So,
because your perspective changes, right? Once you go through college and then you learn, you have all this experience, you're like, wow, I didn't want to teach, but I do, because I have all this knowledge to share. I have all this, Well,
right. It kind of fell in my lap of teaching. My ex-husband was an educator, and then all my friends in college, they were educators, like, you need to teach. I'm like, no, I'll never teach. So my husband and I moved to Dallas. And so this was 30 years ago, but they had the newspapers, and you looked in the classified and the little bitty, circle. And so there was, 10 pages of classified. So I kind of got lost. So I began subbing. And when I would go in the classrooms, the teacher would come by and go, what's happening in there? Because that class has never acted like that. Like, and they would come to me and they would say, you've got to teach. You've got to teach. And they would go to the principal. The principal would come down there and she's like, they're telling me you got to teach. And so I went back to school and got my teacher certification. But so it kind of fell in my lap, but it was natural to me. And I did love it. And I love my students. And I even taught on the college level. And I love that too.
Nice. Yeah. I love it. That's really cool. Let me show you something That's gonna...
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? It's a T-shirt that I first saw Pat Flynn wearing. I don't know if you know Pat Flynn. He's super amazing. You got to check out his story. So he creates a ton of content, ton of videos on YouTube. He's been a podcaster for over 10 years.
Wow.
And he wears this T-shirt on his videos. I'm like, dude, that T-shirt is awesome because I want to teach everything I know.
Right.
So it's really awesome.
Right. Yeah.
All right, next question. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
Oh my goodness. I think my favorite movie of all time is The Notebook.
Oh my God, it's been a while since I've seen that one.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but here's what I remember about it to make me think it was my favorite, because when I left the movie theater, I cried. I mean, like next day my head hurt because I had cried so much. It was so powerful. It's kind of like what that little girl who laid in the bed, she wanted that marriage forever and ever and ever, and that was what that movie was about.
Yeah, it was.
The twist at the end that they were the couple and everything. So that's why it's a really great movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it really touched me.
Yeah. No, it was really well done. I mean, the story, the acting, the connections you make with it, that was powerful. All right. Next question. What movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow. Okay. So here's a plot twist. We haven't gotten to this conversation yet.
Yes, you haven't.
But I lost my third son to cancer. And so the answer to your question is I'd play myself in his movie, because he lived larger than life. He never quit. He was amazing. His service is on YouTube. It's so inspirational. It's just, it's not sad. It's so happy. Sad that I lost him.
Yes.
But he never quit. And if a person were to watch it, every person who spoke, which was his pediatrician, his karate instructor, his coach, his brothers, and his dad, and another man that we worked for, and every one of them was like, he never complained. And that child had a blood disorder when he was born.
Wow.
And then he had rods in his spine, and then he had cancer, but he never complained, and he never tried to get out of something. He just went full force into it. He was amazing. So I always knew I was going to write a book. Like from when he was born, I'm like, I know I'm going to write a book. But when people came through his service, they're like, you've got to make a movie. You got to make a movie. So I would be me in my movie, in his movie.
In his movie. Oh, that's such an awesome story. I love it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's powerful. I'll have to look up your son's sermons and his YouTube videos. That sounds really powerful.
His service is
His service. Awesome. Next question. Who is your favorite superhero or superhero power?
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so I have to say my son loved superheroes. There is a good reason I'm telling this.
Yeah.
My son loved superheroes. Like I take you to this room right now, and everything, wall to wall, every, what do you call those little things you buy?
The action figures.
Yes.
Not
So
the
he
dolls.
had every one of them. Yes. So he loved, and he used to pray, please let me be Superman. And I would just think, you are, and you don't even know. So anyway, when he passed away, everybody wore their superhero gear, and several people had made Superman shirts with Coulson, and it says Coulson's the real superhero.
Oh.
Not only that, this is amazing, and I have chills just because I thought about it. When we got to the cemetery, his pediatrician came up to me and she said, did you have any idea that it is National Superhero Day?
No.
Oh. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I have chills again. Like it's almost just like it had to be that very way.
Yeah.
And he was everybody who was there, he was their favorite superhero, and there he was on National Superhero Day Oh, it's just amazing.
Wow.
It's just amazing. So Coulson is my favorite superhero.
I love it.
And his superpower was never quitting.
Oh my God, that's a very important superpower. Perseverance, right?
Perseverance, absolutely. Never quit. Never quit. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So.
And that's one of the most amazing thing about human beings. No wonder why every child walks. Tony Robbins says that, right? Because kids don't give up.
Right.
Like, I'll have my son knocking at the door persistently, calling my name or asking for an iPad, and he knows just the right time to ask because I'm in a meeting. Like, hey, can I have an iPad? You know, they know.
Of course.
They're so persistent. Like, you cannot sway them to do something else.
Right. Yeah.
So it's in human nature, that persistence, but over time, I don't know what happens. Like, we kind of start giving up on ourselves, stop looking at the bright side, stop looking at the good in everything. And I think that's what you're teaching us with the gratitude, with the compassion in your chapter. I'll definitely, link to the book into the podcast notes so then folks can go check it out.
Okay.
We do have last question.
Okay.
If you were a board game, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. Wow, you have great questions.
Thank you.
That is one I've never asked and heard. What was a board game? You know what? Mm-hmm. Most recently, I've played Blurt. And so it's so you have a header and then you blurt out the answer to it.
Uh-huh.
And probably you can tell I like to talk and chat in there. So probably Blurt would fit me. I don't know if that's what I want to be.
Right.
But I think it would fit. That
would fit. Perfect. Well, I'll have to check out that game called Blurt. Yes. Sounds really fun. Thank you so much, Evie. It was a really nice time talking with you. Thank you for spending an hour with us and sharing your story, sharing the amazing progress, the amazing strides you've taken and transforming your own life and helping others transform their lives with your chapter, with your speaking, with all the things that you're doing. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Where can my audience find you and connect with you?
So right now I'm working on my funnels. I'm working on
your website. Mm-hmm.
My website. So I can be found at liveyourdreamevie@gmail.com. And that's the best place right now because from there I can direct them to my website when it's up, which should have been like yesterday. But anyway, liveyourdreamevie@gmail.com for right now.
So what would be your website name? Because the episode is not going to be published and then
okay. So I have the domain name of liveyourdreamevie.com.
Liveyourdreamevie.com.
And I have the magicofgratitude.me. Is that me?
That does work, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
awesome.
liveyourdreamevie.com and the magicofgratitude.me.
Perfect. So I'll be sure to include these links to the show notes so then folks can get to you and connect with you. Thank you so much again. Have an awesome day.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Hacks and Hobbies. You can find additional information on the guest today on the website hacksandhobbies.com. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on upcoming interviews with amazing guests.